Welcome to the Instagram stories. It is Friday, October 14th. It's 5 p.m. I usually don't do this because after work, I like to walk away from the computer and not look back. However, I'm going to do a weekend edition for you. If you missed yesterday's episode, go back and listen. We did a deep dive on how the Instagram algorithm works, and Adam Mosseri shared a lot of points that really influence what content you see. Not so much ensuring that your content is seen by as many people as possible, but going through the indicators they use to determine if they're going to be showing your content to someone else. Today, I'm going to play another part of that video where he does a deeper dive on shadow banning. Now, you might be familiar with shadow banning. You may have experienced it yourself. Typically, it refers to when you're getting a significant amount of reach and then all of a sudden something changes and you no longer get that level of reach anymore. You're using the same hashtags, the same kind of photos, and there is no obvious reason why. It feels like the Instagram algorithm is punishing you, and so that's generally referred to as shadow banning. What can you do to stop it? Some people say wait for a set amount of time and don't post anything. Other people say refresh your hashtag, like all kinds of different ideas. Anyway, here's Adam Mosseri's explanation of shadow banning and how they've not really addressed that well at all over the past few years.
Next, I want to talk about shadow banning. Shadow banning is a term that people use to describe all sorts of things that might happen to them on Instagram. And I want to start by recognizing that we haven't done as much as we should to make it clear exactly why things might be happening on Instagram, at least not historically. And when people don't have information, it is reasonable for them to assume the worst. And so that's why we're looking to be more transparent about what we do, and why we're creating videos like this one. But I want to be clear. One thing that people often use the word shadow banning to apply to is when they're not reaching as many people as they think they should or they expect to when they post. But I need to be honest, we cannot guarantee that you're always going to reach the same number of people. Even when ranking doesn't change at all, too much else changes in the world. What people are interested in changes, what else you're competing with changes. On Mother's Day, you're competing with a lot of photos, a lot of moms, people saying that they're grateful, which is a tough thing to compete with. But what we can do is make less mistakes and push harder to fix those mistakes more quickly. We can be more transparent about how our systems work in general with videos like this one. And we can try to do more in the product to let people know why something might be taken down when it is taken down, which often people struggle with. And another thing is, I want to clarify that we have community guidelines, rules about what can and cannot be shared on Instagram in the first place. These are mostly focused on safety, so you can't post hate speech or celebrate violence. But we also have what we call recommendation guidelines, rules about what can and cannot be recommended in places like Explore, places where you're not seeing something because you followed an account, but rather because we thought you might be interested in it. And so we're looking for all sorts of ways to shed more light across the whole spectrum of how Instagram works. So expect to see more.
All right, I'm going to dive into that, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsor. The Instagram Stories is sponsored by #Slayer.com. Reach new people, build your audience, most importantly, grow your business by using #Slayer.com. No Facebook login is required. Sign up with your email address and get your first month free by using the code IGStories at #Slayer.com. Again, that's code IGStories at #Slayer.com. And we're back. Overall, I applaud this effort to admit that there's been a lack of transparency. If you've ever experienced having a post not get the reach that your other post did, and you really have no explanation why, it just creates a bad experience overall. It makes you realize that the only way to compete in this game is to constantly move to whatever is the new platform that has not implemented such a harsh algorithm yet. However, that becomes emotionally and physically exhausting, so that's not really a good long-term solution. I do think overall Instagram really needs to provide a lot more transparency on why individual posts did not do as well as you would think they would, especially when you get more views on stories than posts. I'm not going to continue with that any further because it's just going to go super negative, and I'm going to admit that chasing every new social media platform is not a long-term strategy that would work. That's going to do it for today's show. Be sure to come back on Monday for Mosseri Monday. We have some actually good questions about where the Instagram platform is going in terms of new features. So be sure to come back on Monday for that. Thanks for listening.
not yet a member of the Instagram team, but my podcast covers many Instagram themes. But the name, image, logos are trademarks of Instagram and the LCC in the USA and every territory. Everything I publish independently until Zuck returns my DMs and starts to pay my salary. Not sponsored or endorsed, no lies, no fallacies. I use their logo with permission, not malicious or callously. No trademark violation, filling all criteria. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Daniel Hill Media.